What is up, everyone? Barricade here, and bringing guys another part of the Gears of War Bloodlines novel. So we're gonna go ahead and get right into it, guys. Here in the last video, we saw where Gabe was able to recover Ghost Squad, and they escaped the Knifespire as the UIR was attacking them. They used the sandbar to make them crash, and they simply left at that point. So now, when the chapter starts here for the next part, we see that Gabe is explaining what happened to Phillips, his commanding officer. He explains that after the two frigates hit the sandbar, they were beached, and he watched them for 2 hours. One was able to free itself while the other needed to be tugged back into the water. He explained that he waited near Adena, the fishing island, and after they freed, the UIR went back to Knifespire instead of their home base. Phillips asked Wyatt why they would do that. Why would they just go back to Knifespire instead of just fucking off right back to their actual main base? Wyatt replied, "Not my place to say," and he shrugged. Wyatt stated that they were interested in Knifespire because the COG was. When the COG would go there, it made the UIR suspicious, making them want to investigate. But he wouldn't say exactly why or what they were there for. At this point, out of nowhere, they hear a new voice come into the room, and they hear him say, "I can answer that. I can answer why the UIR is there." And then they stood at attention because they knew whose voice it was. It was Hoffman's, and he was there, and he asked Wyatt what had happened. Wyatt explained that they lost the equipment due to the AOR coming up on them way too fast. They weren't able to prep the charges or get anything done. That the Vigil, the boat that they came in, was sank instantly, and Hoffman asked what did Captain Devers order him to do before he went down with his own ship. Wyatt hesitated and showed a very scared side to him that was actually kind of rare. And once he started speaking, he used a tone, a very sad tone, that soldiers only used when they knew they were responsible for other soldiers' deaths. Wyatt stated that he was told to set up the equipment and to not let it fall under UIR hands under any circumstances. Hoffman then repeated that statement, under any circumstances, cementing Wyatt's failure and shaking his head. Gabe interrupted, saying, "Pardon me, sir," and suggested that they should let everyone know what was going on and what their mission was, and that everyone here at Vectis could possibly help. Hoffman replied immediately with, "Do you have top secret clearance, soldier?" Gabe replies, "No, sir," and which makes Hoffman shoot back with, "Then why are you even in this room?" Gabe replied, "Because they rescued his men, and they know the islands better than Ghost Squad does. And he just basically really wants them to be involved with their mission." At this point, Phillips interrupts him and yells at Gabe, saying, "That is enough, LC. You are dismissed." Gabe puts his head down under his breath and says, "As usual, regs and ranks instead of results." And then at this point, as he's walking out, she hears him say that. And Phillips gets mad and tells him, "You are confined to your quarters." As Gabe was walking out, Hoffman stopped him and asked him if he was Gabe Diaz, and kind of focused on that last name, Diaz. Gabe was like, "Yes." And then Hoffman says that he met his brother Oscar Diaz, and that Oscar was a model soldier and always did what he was told. At this point, Gabe got annoyed and thought to himself that he went to the lesser islands to avoid this type of authority-driven lifestyle in the COG, but it always catches up to him. And while he's getting annoyed with Hoffman talking about how great of a soldier Oscar is and how much he follows orders, Hoffman stops himself and says, "But," and then he changes his tone into a more sincere one and says, "Oscar is a great soldier, but I can't really think of a time he got results, as you say." Hoffman then openly agrees and says, "All right, let's get results then." And he says he will let his men work with Gabe, and that him and Phillips will discuss what to do next at Knifespire and have Wyatt brief Gabe. So now the soldiers at Vectis will be more involved and actually know what is going on now. They're going to stop being so secretive. As Gabe is talking to Hoffman, he looks back at Phillips, and he can see that Phillips is just giving him and Wyatt a very bad glare. She seems very annoyed. But at this point, they have to listen and they have to help now, which, makes Gabe very happy. Wyatt then starts explaining what their mission is and what they're there for. Essentially, the COG has now created a new piece of technology that is far more advanced than the UIR has at this point, and they want to keep it that way. Essentially, it's just an antenna that they were installing on Knifespire. They asked why Knifespire? This is like a random island that's kind of, off and really unimportant. And Wyatt explains that's exactly why. It's far enough to where its signals won't be impeded and they'll allow them to work properly, and at the same time, a very insignificant island that the UIR normally shouldn't have expected that. But yet, for some reason, the UIR was on them very fast, which is really unusual. They shouldn't have found out that quick. And honestly, they probably shouldn't have found out at all. But for some reason, they did. And at this point, they mentioned that they're going to use this antenna to spy on the UIR for years to come. At this point, Gabe actually starts laughing about the idea of spying on them for years. Phillips gets mad and tells Gabe, "Something amusing? What is so amusing about that?" Gabe replies and explains, "No 80, and that it's a mantra on this island right now that everyone wants the war to end now. They want it to end on the 79th year of the war." And they feel like, it kind of almost feels like, life is so crazy that at this point, there's such a difference between wishful thinking and reality, and that it's kind of sad. Ironically, at this point in the story, as we find out, the 79th year is actually the final year of the war. But at this point, with Gabe and Hoffman and everything, they don't know that. They don't know that the Hammer of Dawn is going to be created and everything. If that didn't happen, the war could have been going on for years. And Gabe felt that way, that this whole no 80 thing was kind of just wishful thinking more than anything at this point. Hoffman, instead of getting mad, surprisingly states that he understands why people would be saying that. That at this point, they've been fighting for so long that war is all they know. This generation of people grew up in war and they'll die in war, and all they know is war, and they never have known any type of peaceful time. But anyways, they go back to focusing on the mission. Hoffman explains that they need to reclaim that equipment no matter what. But Gabe states that they probably already have the equipment by now. It's already been so much time, and they probably found it and have taken it. And Gabe says that they're probably on their way back to their base now at this point, and they should probably call air support and catch them en route to their base, and essentially just bomb them out of the water. But Phillips attests to this and states that doing this type of attack could cause an uproar between the two peaceful islands and cause more conflict. Wyatt explains that at this point, it might not be necessary to catch them en route, that the UIR might not actually have the equipment yet. And everyone kind of stops and looks at Wyatt like, huh? Why? Like, they're really confused by Wyatt's statement that it's been so much time. They should have it right back at the base by now, or at least on the way back to the base. So it doesn't make sense that if the UIR took over the island, that they haven't found it yet. But Wyatt explains that their strategy with Ghost Squad was that they took, remember in the beginning part of the novel when I explained when they first met Ghost Squad, they took the air tanks, they took some tanks, and they kind of discussed on what they needed. First he wanted the kegs, but then Gabe switched it to taking air tanks. I don't know if you remember that part of the novel or if you saw the previous video. But that actually came back. That was actually a really cool thing about the book. They brought that part back because what Wyatt had done, his strategy, was they took those air tanks that Gabe had gave them and painted them, and painted a bunch of things on them saying chemical waste, warning to stay away. And essentially what they did is they put it near the entrance of the cave where they installed that antenna. So once you went towards the cave and tried to investigate, all you would see is empty tanks saying chemical waste. And it would scare the UIR or anyone that's going near it away, because no one's going to want to go near chemical waste or radiation. So they kind of use it as a diversion to keep the COG off. So there's a good chance that with this strategy that the UIR has not even found their equipment yet. And at this point, Hoffman gets happy and he states that there's probably a chance still, and then they need to check it out and they need to go back to Knifespire to try to find this technology. Hoffman states that at this point, this conversation is over and that he's going to be working with Phillips to figure out what to do next. As they were talking, Phillips actually asks Hoffman, you were on the way over here regardless of what was going on. Why were you coming? And Hoffman states, as an inspection. We're going to expect not your men, but my own, to see if they were going to be able to complete this mission. And seeing as my men have created a mess and have been able to do this and get this completed, are you able to clean up their mess? Hoffman asks Phillips. Phillips states that they will try, and Hoffman gets pissed off and says, "Of course you'll fucking try," like in a really authoritative tone. At this point, Phillips just kind of stays quiet and listens to him. She then later tells Gabe that she wants his plan in 1 hour, that they need to decide everything, what they're going to do, and get it done. Wyatt jokingly kind of says, "Well, that's a waste of an hour." Phillips then gets angry and dismisses Wyatt. 45 minutes later, Gabe is in Phillips' office explaining what they're going to do and shows her his plans. Out of nowhere, Phillips pulls out a red pen and starts marking off ideas and things that he wanted to do. And then she hands it back to him and says, "I'll approve the rest. These we're not doing." Which angers Gabe in saying that they need these parts of the plan for it to work, and that he wanted Ghost Squad to come with them to help them out. But Phillips states that she did not want Ghost Squad to come, that she wanted them to prove that they can get this mission done without their help. And he kind of sat there and realized what she was doing, that she was trying to save face for Vectis and show that they don't need any help from Ghost Squad or Hoffman or anybody, that they can take care of themselves. Gabe then takes the plans and starts writing down some other information instead, kind of changing the plan up, and that essentially stating that he needs more firepower and items that honestly his men aren't really adept at using yet. Phillips states that it's risky, but she approves. As Gabe is getting ready to head back to Knifespire, Wyatt runs up to him and asks, "When are we leaving?" Gabe explains that they're not coming with them, that Ghost Squad is not allowed on this mission. This pisses off Wyatt and the rest of Ghost Squad, and Gabe then asks him immediately, "I'm going to need some of your bombs, some explosives that you have, and we're going to need it for the mission." Wyatt refuses at first, but then gives up, knowing that Gabe could easily just ask Hoffman, that he can go buy Wyatt and ask Hoffman, and Hoffman would give it to him anyways. Gabe gets prepared as he gets much more of his men ready for this mission. After this, Gabe gets 6 boats with his men and devises a plan to get back to Knifespire. They get everybody and they ride to the island known as Adena that I mentioned before, essentially a simple fishing island. Villagers and people that aren't part of the COG or the UIR, just simply people that got caught in between them, literally. They're in the middle of the area between the COG and the UIR. They're hiding behind Adena, and it's in the middle of the night at 25:59 hours. If you guys didn't know, in Gears of War's universe, the world runs by a 26-hour time per day instead of 24 hours like ours. So it's almost midnight in their time, 25:59. And it urges everyone not to move until 7 minutes after midnight at 26:07 hours. Mendes argues that it doesn't make sense, which Gabe replies with, "Exactly. Sometimes you have to trick your opponents by doing things off and make them think you're stupid, and it, makes them underestimate you." Gabe explains that their mission is to make it to a part of the island known as the Cathedral, a cave that you can only get to by going through Gatka Ridge, which is that very narrow path that we saw earlier in the novel. And at this point, Gabe explains that his idea to get this taken care of is to have 4 of his 6 boats go to Scabbard Cove and approach it through Gatka Ridge. But their main mission really is not to actually get there, but to act more as a distraction to get the UIR to attack them, because that's where the UIR is going to be expecting them. And the other 2 boats are going to go around and find a different route to the Cathedral. And the main thing at this point is he gets 4 of the boats, all their men, to go, and he explains that 2 of the boats, he's going to be on one of the 2 boats with Blair and another gear known as Aquino, and they're going to take their squads to go with him and retrace their steps to find a different path. Davis, the sniper that I mentioned from before, asks if she can hide at the top again, but Gabe explains no, that you don't have to do that this time, that he has a special task for her and she's going to be coming with them. This makes her happy, actually, because she was tired of just hiding and she really wanted to be part of the mission. Once it hits 26:07, they all turn on their boats and take off towards Knifespire. As Gabe looks back at Adena, he sees something unusual. Adena is ordered to always have a blackout every night, but he can see a faint light in the distance, in one of the huts on the island. Gabe imagines it to be someone that's just simply doing a simple task to break the rule, maybe someone such as a mother helping her child, or an old fisherman trying to do something. So he decides to let it go. As the light fades in the distance, he forgets about it, but in reality, the light is something very important. Turns out the person on Adena, the one using that light, is someone known as Cyprian Divmov. He's sitting there with a candle, and he is actually a fisherman that tried to sell some of his catchings to the cog, but the gears at Vectis turned him away and told him to take a shower, started mocking him, telling him that he smells, being very rude to him. After this, he went to the UIR to sell his products, and they actually welcomed him with open arms and even recruited him. His station is on Adena, and every time the cog passes by it to Knifespire, he lets them know what they have, what type of boats, what weapons, how many boats, and where they're going. He's the reason why the Ghost's LCU boat was found so quickly and destroyed, and now he was selling them out again as they made their way to Knifespire. Alright guys, that's where I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. This part of the story is getting really interesting because in the next chapters, we're going to see where Gabe is more than likely going to get into another battle with the UIR. If you guys like this video, please definitely hit that like button and subscribe and tell me what you guys think about Gears of War Bloodlines so far. I'm sorry guys, I know this has taken a while. I'm going to probably be making this for weeks to come because of the fact that this novel is pretty big. I want to cover pretty much everything on it if I can. I kind of want to follow this format and maybe even start making videos of the previous novels as well with this type of format. You guys let me know if you guys want to see that. Anyways guys, thanks for watching and take it easy. Thanks for watching this video. If you want to see my most recent Gears of War video, hit that link on the left. If you want to see any of my other content, hit that link on the right. Thanks for watching guys.